Hello, everyone. I'm Ajay Srivastav. I'm a director of sales in TCS, and today on behalf of the TCS and Direct Academy channel, it's my immense pleasure to welcome you all to the webinar on the topic Pharma Industry, the Warrior of Today. So let's start with the overview of the topic. The Indian pharmaceutical industry is the third largest in terms of volume and the 13th largest in terms of revenue. It has established itself as a global marketing and research hub. The Indian pharmaceuticals market is dominated by generic drugs, which constitute nearly 70% of the market, whereas over-the-counter drugs, medicines and patented drugs make up to about 21% and 9% respectively. According to a report, India is the largest supplier of generic medicines globally. 20 to 22% of the global export volume is generated. The total drugs and pharmaceuticals exports during April 20 to November 20 was $15.87 billion US. And for the month of November 2020, it was US $1.99 billion. India has exported about $3.89 million worth of bulk drugs and drug intermediaries in financial year 20. And India has one of the lowest manufacturing costs in the world. It is lower than that of USA and almost half of Europe. To understand more about the international exports and pharma industry, we have invited a very special guest today from the industry. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome and introduce our guest speaker, Director of Taj Pharmaceuticals Group, Mr. Shantanu Singh. Welcome, Mr. Singh. So before starting the question and answers with the speakers, I want to inform our participants that you can all ask questions to speaker by putting questions in chat box. Now let me give you a brief introduction to a speaker. Mr. Shantanu Singh is Director of Taj Pharma Group, looking after international business operations, contract manufacturing and sales, and other areas. He is also responsible for management strategic consulting, including business plan and international sales strategy development, subsidiary planning and implementations, pharmaceuticals API and chemical research and development. So we have a very wide array of information here, and I hope all of us will be able to benefit and get as much information from Mr. Shantanu as we can today. He has worked in more than 40 countries in the EU, UK, Ireland, Poland, Germany, Austria, Romania, Africa, and Russia for international exports of pharma products. He has experience in product marketing, pharma recruitment, regulatory submissions, dossier preparations, qualifications, and validations, WHO, GMP audits, compliance and risk assessments, and R&D documentation. It's a really wide array, and we are really fortunate to have Mr. Shantanu amongst us today. So once again, I welcome Mr. Shantanu Singh. Mr. Shantanu, I'm going to start off by asking you the first question. We want to hear you on. Please tell us about the current scenario of international exports and what according to you would be 3 opportunities in this sector to focus upon.
Hi, Ajay. Thank you for an excellent introduction, especially explaining the pharma industry. I would like to explain the current scenario, irrespective of the pandemic. Pharma exports have...
please.
Pharma exports have grew 18.7% in the financial year 21. You'll see that post-pandemic, there has been a growth of 24.44 billion in the financial year. And we have a surplus demand of generics globally. Now, to understand this scenario, we can have 5 pointers, such as pharma exports being the largest commodity of Indian exports, second largest, generic formulation and biological vaccines. Then we have to see the lockdown and supply chain distributions. And we have pharma growth as the best under the 8-year financial years owing to the essential COVID support products. And then we have major export market and some stats. So starting with the pharma exports being the second largest commodity in Indian exports, although the overall pharma market shrinked a little bit, 2%, with some of the products demand going down. However, we have seen a huge demand in made in India generics owing to our quality, affordability, which met the budgetary requirements of many countries who were facing drug shortages post-pandemic era in the past year. Now, drug formulation and biologicals were the second largest commodity exported from India. In the fiscal year, pharmaceutical exports increased by 7.57% to a 20.58 billion as well. So we see this as a leading sector of growth as well. Now, coming to generic formulation and biologicals and vaccines, we saw a great surge in demand of portable generics such as hydrochloroquine, azithromycin. These were the major products when we saw an immediate surge of COVID-19 last year. This was the largest exported drugs to USA and global markets. Now we saw that after the clinical evidence, this shift was done to antiviral drugs, steroids. Indian markets was always looked upon as a scale-up country for various biologicals, vaccines. We have seen AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine, Covishield, having scaled up at Bharat Serum Institute. Apologies. And we have also seen Sputnik vaccine as a contract manufacturing with an Indian company. So we are seen as a scale-up country for vaccines, having such good manufacturing units and excellent research capabilities as well in order to just replicate that research. Industry has seen lockdowns and supply chain disruptions. Although our nation faced lockdown of 1.3 billion people, everything coming to still stop. And this was in order to control the virus as well. However, even with all these disruptions and limited percentage of employees and people living in fear, our industry, especially pharma industry, has stood up to the challenges, irrespective of all the logistic issues, staff issue, flight stopping, and everything which has been going on. Now, even with all these disruptions, pharma sector saw the largest growth under the 8-year financial year in terms of COVID support products. In the fiscal year, we have seen performance hurt by lockdown and supply chain disruption aimed at post-COVID era. However, even with this, 18.7% growth was the best in the 8th financial year. And this was the essential COVID drugs, whether it's steroids or everything which India could have exported, even at sometimes at a cost of our own drug shortages. Now, major export stats, you will see North America having a market share of 34% growth. US, Canada, Mexico grew at 12.6%, 30%. Now, these stats are coming from the industry, Pharmexil and other areas. Africa saw an increase of 13.4%. South Africa with the second largest market with an increase of 13.4% and 28% in Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania, etc. Now you see that Europe also was the third market with an 11% growth, and Indian industry saw a growth of 14% in Latin America, CIS countries as a 23%, Middle East with a 17%, and the unexplored markets such as Australia, 21%, UAE 43%, Uzbekistan 125%, and Ukraine 40%. This was very encouraging for the industry. Now we see three opportunities for our colleagues and everyone in the industry, which is the export of generic formulation. That is what we are looked upon for. We have to see essential drug formulations which are required around the globe, and then foremost vaccine manufacturing. These are the three opportunities we should be focused on. Now, the primary opportunity to export generic formulations, where we see that countries are already facing a big budgetary constraint with the hospital, oxygen, the budgets are squeezed, and health system is under extreme pressure with the prolonged time of COVID-19. Indian generics are 30% of the cost of branded meds, and they're very, very cheap. So many countries like Brazil, Latin America have seen this as an opportunity to balance their budgets, health budgets, which are under pressure. Every dollar saved by semi-regulated countries such as Brazil, Argentina, Peru can be beneficial to the nations. Indian pharma industry has played its part in supply of COVID support products such as hydroquinone, ivermectin, and all other steroids, even remdesivir. So huge opportunity for all the finished formulations under this sector of export.
Yeah.
Essential drug formulation now, during the prolonged pandemic era, pharma industry shifted towards more essential formulation, such as focused formulation. This was not the pre-era time where we could have exported the lifestyle products. So many products ran out of demand. Now lifestyle products were primary. However, we see a huge demand curve in antiviral drugs such as remdesivir, favipiravir. We have seen a huge demand of antibiotics. anti-pyretic products such as paracetamol, non-steroid anti-inflammatory drugs such as ibuprofen, naproxen. And we have also seen a huge demand of steroids such as dexamethasone, prednisolone, methylprednisolone, or hydrocortisone. And lastly, we have seen this anti-parasitic drug ivermectin work very well. So our industry needs to focus on these essential drugs and the blood clotting agents such as enoxaparin, heparin. These are the products which are being primarily used as a COVID support drug, and this is needed in every country, every nation, and the import demand is huge for these. We have seen antifungal demand recently, not to mention this leishmaniasis disease, this micromycosis, in plain language, black fungus. Products such as liposomal amphotericin, which was only manufactured no less than 50,000 vials in our country, now is needed in every pharmacy, every patient. And we have seen surge of such demand, and this could be the opportunity line even for export markets, because this mutated virus is going to spread to other exporting countries, such as Brazil, Peru. Not that we want it, but it is the eventuality, and it could be predicted. Yeah. And the vaccine manufacturing, lastly, the opportunity stand for all the laboratories, the small units, medium scale units, for the vaccine manufacturing of Covishield or any other technology-based vaccine, which could be manufactured freely and be available to the export countries or even for the domestic demand. So these are the three opportunities. Yes, I hand over to you. Yes, Mr. Shah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think this is such a wealth of information. So clearly, the domination of focus will be on the COVID-19 virus and how we are managing the virus, etc. So it is definitely going to be, the focus will be on vaccines. That is understood. Frankly, I had no idea that we were able to contribute to so many countries, and there was so much, that we were doing within India. So thank you very much for all this information, Mr. Shantanu. But there is a question that's coming to mind, so is all this only for the large 3 or 4 companies in the country, or is there a play in this present scenario for MSMEs particularly to venture into the export market? What would you say are the 3 important steps that they need to take? And, while you are at it, it will be very interesting to hear what are the main export procedures and methods that should be taken care of too.
Right. So now we have seen the shortage of remdesivir in India, and having only 7 companies authorized to manufacture it led to huge shortage. So yes, there is a huge opportunity for MSME companies, small, middle scale units. These are the core of pharma. You'll see that there are more than 1,000 units in Gujarat. There are more than 400, 500 units in Maharashtra, Hyderabad. These are the core sectors, and we see then Badhi also as a supporting zone. So, and all these countries are under the MSME zone. So now we see that important steps for the export market. There's huge opportunity, as well as there's a domestic opportunity as well. Primarily for the export market to have some share along with the larger scale companies which are unable to meet the demands as well. For the smaller countries, they have pricing demand, and we see these as tenders. So these are not registered business, or these are not long-term businesses which only large companies could enjoy. These are tenders in the small markets with a very tight budget, such as Laos, Singapore, Malaysia. They have a tighter budget for these products, and maybe larger companies may decline due to price visibility. So 3 important steps, especially for MSME to venture into export markets, I would say that they need to have these manufacturing units, which has to be ultra modern as well. Even for the smallest export market, you will need a modern manufacturing unit compared to what we had 10 years ago. Secondary, you will see that we'll have to follow the GMP and international norms. This is for tender as well. It's not that we are obligated to follow that. And then we have the third step to take by MSME would be the drug registration, plant inspection, tender participation, and international GMPs. I'll get onto these points now. Now, this manufacturing units for MSME, we'll see that only large companies are following the US FDA, UK MHRA norms. However, even the smaller companies which are based on the normal budget, they can also have these ultra modern manufacturing units with the new GMP panels. Now these things are very standard, cheaper. We have seen steel structure being used in the pharma industry, which has shortened the time period of making the units to only 11 months full commissioning. So for MSME industry, they need to have Primarily, they need to have a good manufacturing unit, ultra modern, following the international norm, and they need to aim higher than what they wish to achieve. That's the start. They need to have modern equipment, machinery. They need to have evolving export market norms such as ICH. They need to follow these norms, and these units need to have, in particular, we have seen in the past era, we have seen that in India, we are very attracted to brick-based partitions and all that. Now these norms have changed in pharma. You will see that ultra-modern plants are separated by GMP panels. These are clean room panels. You will see the GMP windows, flush doors. You will see contamination-free standard operating procedure, interlock system. So the one door of the entry has to be shut before the other opens. So this creates a contamination-free flow for the manufacturing. So these are the norms that only larger companies 10 years ago used to follow, but now you'll see that even smaller units under the MSME are following these norms, and they have to adapt to these, especially if we have to contribute to the export market. The modern GMP practices now mandate to the controlled environment, quality standards, new kind of plant design, which reduces the risk of any pharmaceutical production and eliminates the last final testing procedures where mistakes could be found. So you'll have to find the mistakes within the batch. So this is the new norm with the new machine, new standard. Every 30-minute testing you will see of the tablet capsule. So these are the new norms which MSME need to adopt. Now the second approach would be to have GMP and international norms in their plant. Now GMP checklists have changed very much in the past 5 years. With the new plant design, you will see that there is a preview, there is a distribution documentation, there is an updated record maintenance, then there is a manufacturing of intermediaries, pharmaceutical intermediates and finished products. Now the GMP method, the good manufacturing practice, what we call it, the WHO has its published norms to follow, then US FDA, every single country will have their own norms. However, they will curb towards the WHO norms and the US FDA norms as the highest standard, and then the EU GMP. So now these plants need to have this new GMP design, construction, facilities need to be equipped properly with identified responsibilities in terms of ISO. And then you will see that these procedures and instructions have to be followed with documentation work, process validation. Now process validation it has to be understood that if we are manufacturing 5 batches of a single drug, the consistency and the gap between these products has to be minimal or less than 1%. And this variation is the process validation, which we have to follow. That if we have a validated process, we are going to be well with the bigger batches, and then the validation and the staff evaluation and performances are also measured. We have seen this monitoring as something new which has to be implemented. Batch recordings. We have seen that some tropical region in the export market now follows Zone 4B stability. So stability chambers as a new norm in the pharma industry, that we must have enough stability chambers to keep all the products accelerated and long-term data. We have data integrity as a major issue which importers or exporters in the other countries tout us. So we have to improve on this data integrity, BMR, batch processing report. Overall, the primary solution to all this, even with the old equipments, that I would say, is having a pilot scale laboratory within the company, which would develop a small formulation. It would validate everything in a 5,000 tablet batch, and then that particular validation can be replicated to bigger batches, leading to less wastage, of course, for the industry, and better consistency with a lower cost as well. Finally, the last norm to follow would be the drug registration, plant inspection, and international GMP. So in order for MSME to become the exporter, the good Indian generic industry, they must have drug registration. Now, drug registration is something where we file the dossier, the common technical dossier file, CTD, everything about the product needs to be filed in a foreign country with their regulations and with their checklist. And we have to file this. If any plant, any MSME plant needs to start with semi-regulated markets such as Latin America, Middle East. Then we have to focus on Africa, CIS nations, and then gradually move towards Australia, US, and the more stringent countries such as Canada, Europe, etc. So there is a staircase they need to follow. They can't be straightforward going to the Europe with a less validated batch, because they also have to follow the industry norms in terms of product validation, documentation, which are from normal to stringent as we move towards regulated markets such as Australia, US, Canada, Europe. So it's very primary that they start with normal markets, because they have a turnover to maintain, and foremost bank loans as well in the new plants. Now, methods primarily include quality products such as documentation. They will be filing CTD. They will be filing validation data. And if these things are done prior in the normal time scenario, now or in the future, the exports would see a very, very vast increase from our industry. And the product is a factor of success in the pharma industry. So we are a product-based nation, and this is what MSME needs to be focused on. So these are the primary points. Ajay.
Yeah, no. So I think, like I mentioned earlier, that's a wealth of knowledge here, Shantanu, and I'm sure our listeners are going to benefit from it. But there have been a few questions that have come up, and I think just to keep the context, I'll ask them now. So that we don't have to come back to it later. So you're saying that as I understand, therefore, all the units are not governed by US FDA alone. Every country that they export to will have their own norms. So they will have to. Okay. So that was answered by you. How big is this window, Mr. Shantanu? How big is this window for a company to? I mean, does it only established companies which are already, clearly already exporting goods can get into it, or do you think that there is?
No. Any company, even with the new plant if even the plant is commissioned this month, that plant can have a 9-month shelf life, because look, you need a 6-month stability data minimum with accelerated and non-accelerated data. Product needs to be stable, quality wise, and there has to be at least 3 to 6 validated batches. So even for a smaller companies, why I said you need a pilot kitchen, basically in a layman's word, you need a pilot kitchen. Don't shift to the bigger machines. In pharma industry, we build bigger machines such as the mixer, etc. This is capacity. So you can say that, okay, we are only going to manufacture 100,000 or 500,000 tablet capsules as a minimum batches. Now you will see that with the new products, for the new plants to succeed, they need to have a very good laboratory. They need to have a small pilot scale plant within the plant, which will manufacture 5,000 tablets, and the 5,000 multiplied by 3 is the 3 batches, done the validation. Now your recipe is fixed. Now just scale up. And that is what the export market is expecting from us.
Nice. Yeah.
And that will enhance the quality, not only for domestic, but for export markets as well. And that is the key to enter. So you will see that very, very vast infrastructure will have a very little investment on the pilot plant, on the R&D of the products. So I would suggest my colleagues to have a pilot scale plant, have a good R&D. As soon as they commission the plant, 2040 identified products under this export market, as per the export data, largely exported products. As per the sections of the product, they just need to develop the stability, the process validation, the norms, and that's it. After that, the opportunity is unlimited. The importer doesn't care the product is from the top 10 company or it's from the 500 company. They need a cost, they need the documentation, and anyways they are going to analyze these products when they reach their nation. So you need to pass that as well.
It's very encouraging for new MSMEs who want to get into this, because a lot of us who are not from the industry exactly, this looked like an opportunity that maybe only 3 or 4 companies were going to enjoy. But this is very encouraging to hear that many other companies can also scale up and get.
See, I would still say that more than 60% of the overall share of the Indian industry, I would not argue with that. Larger companies do have share, they do have exposure, they have 10, 20 plants as well. But even with you will see that the major supplies of the products are done by the MSME companies to Africa, to South Africa. Who manufactured the enoxaparin? Who manufactured hydrochloroquine? These are the products. These are all medium-scale companies.
Okay. Yeah. So, what are the 5, main challenges which the Indian pharma industry itself is facing, and in the present, to scale up and take advantage of the opportunity unfortunate opportunity that has arisen? What would be
Yes.
the five main challenges here?
First of all, it's sad that Indian industry had challenges like any industry. When we saw the post-COVID era, we as manufacturer, any of our colleagues, the IDMA or anyone did not estimate that we would ever face this challenge. We were the world pharmacy. That's what we are classified as, and it's pity that our nation, our public, we are facing drug shortages, we are facing challenges in the industry, manufacturing. We have seen a lot of negative things such as black marketing, etc. in this era as well. And any company would not want this. Any company would not want to benefit from any pandemic. We are all pity on this situation, and we are always obligated that we have not done 100%. We did not predict it well. We did not know whether it's vaccine, whether it's general products, whether it's enoxaparin, whether it's remdesivir. We just had no idea that we will see such spike in India. Now, coming back to challenges we face, I will divide it into five parts just to understand it better. Now, primarily we have raw material shortage of COVID-19 raw material, mainly the support products, whether it's steroids, etc. Secondly, we will see raw material dependence on China. This is a very crucial point we need to know. Now we have drug shortages of essential COVID drug product. This is the finished product. Now we have also Drug Price Control Act. We need to understand this is a major challenge in the industry of finished product. And then we have the bulk drug price control of essential APIs as a key issue and challenge in the industry. Now coming to the raw material of the COVID support drug, you will see that the COVID support drug we saw just last month. We saw COVID drugs such as remdesivir, selling for 30,000, 40,000, or favipiravir. The prices of the active ingredient jumped from 30% to 200% for the industry, for any company to buy. These are traders, importers, and also companies, and there could be dependent factors such as intermediary price rise as well, which they might be importing as a starting material for these drugs in their API plants as well. So we can't blame it all on the trading. Now the prices of ivermectin, which is anti-parasitic drug, you will see methylprednisolone. Now we see doxycycline, enoxaparin, the blood clotting agent in COVID. We see paracetamol rising from rupees 280 to 300 rupees to now 800, as we imported 70%. We see azithromycin, meropenem, and now we see piperacillin tazobactam as well going up. Now we need to control these factors in the industry. This is a big challenge we are facing. Key COVID medicine have gone up by 30 to 200%. That's a big worry. Industry has outlined it to our regulators. It has outlined it to traders that we do not need to be inhuman to support, because this will lead to struggling of the finished formulation guys to buy it and then formulate and solve the drug shortage if we have such price rise. Sometimes you will see that trader and manufacturers of these raw materials will give you a 1 hour window for the RTGS, NEFT, and this is very alarming for the industry where we have such shortages and formulators. So we need to control this bulk drug problem at the highest level, similar to the remdesivir pricing problem and the black marketing problem. Now we have also seen that China has suspension of the cargo flight services to India in the past month, impacting the import of key raw material. And we have to understand that India imports 70% of the pharmaceutical raw material, or the inactive ingredient, or the starting material, or the chemical from China, due to the pricing factor, due to the affordability factor. So this is a key to understand that 70% of our raw material industry is from China. And if a flight stops from China, we have shortages and price hike as well.
That's right.
Yeah. So on the 26th April, you will see that China announced a 15-day cargo flight suspension by Sichuan Airline. Yes, Sichuan Airline. That was transporting medical supplies to India. So that was suspended. I have still to review if it has resumed or not. But yes, we are expecting that at least now there would be a flight to solve some shortages. Now the second factor will be the raw material dependence China, as I outlined now. But our government understood this last year. There were steps taken to boost domestic raw material manufacturing. there was a scheme called Product Link Incentive Scheme, by which API companies will establish a plant and they will be encouraged to manufacture the active ingredient in the market. There was a minimal annual production capacity of 10 products with antibiotics, tetracycline, neomycin, ciprofloxacin. So this was done. This was identified by our government regulators last year only, that we need to enhance this. We knew this from last year once we faced the shortages, post-COVID-19 as well, when the flights were stopped. Now, the government assessed this impact of COVID-19 pandemic with the active material intermediaries, and they want to manufacture, or they wish to industry to come forward and manufacture this with some schemes, etc. However, these new schemes, etc., would take some time to implement, because we cannot be self-reliant overnight, of course. So, yeah, it is very crucial to understand that even with these efforts of bulk drug and intermediary manufacturing, making more attractive, we could implement free land for the API units. We could implement 5 years tax-free. We could implement R&D support to these new APIs if they develop new APIs. And based on this, we have to just replicate the system, what Russia has done. We have to replicate the system, what other countries like Ukraine have done to become self-reliant in terms of API and manufacturing. We need to give them incentive to establish it. Otherwise, our imports will be more than 70% from China, and that's a big worry what we face right now. The third would be the finished formulation shortages of essential COVID drug. Now, this is very primary problem which all our nation has faced. We have seen from oxygen to normal products like remdesivir, favipiravir. Now, this black fungus, we have liposomal amphotericin B as a serious fungal infection. Now, this product is not available even at a cost people would weigh. We have a transportation issue from point A to B with the temperature sensitive products in the remote areas. We have, although we faced the pandemic last year, we were not that learned from that pandemic last year, and we were not fully prepared from all levels in terms of pharma companies, and this wave hit us very badly. Now there was no advanced list of vastly used medicine which would have been manufactured and stocked as a pre-formulation in the States or in the pharmacies. We were not prepared. No pharma company also expected to keep such large quantity of ready stocks of these medicines. So we would require such investments from authorities to stock up those shortage medicine, because we have to be prepared now looking at March and April. Now we have seen overpricing of pharmacies, black marketing is a primary issue, small vendors and individual patients suffering, writing to all the 10, 20 companies they could find on Google, calling them, because these are ill patients. We have seen precautionary measures of overstocking. So that is also a problem, that we have seen that people who don't need medicine buying the medicine, that maybe they could get coronavirus. So this leads to the actually ill patient not getting the remdesivir vials or not getting the actual medicine for the ICU patients. So that is a key problem, that we don't need to stock the medicine unless we need it. So,
right.
Yes.
So I'm just going to ask you a quick question over here about the cold chain. You mentioned the logistic problems that arise from transporting, maintaining the temperature for all these. So is that also something that MSMEs can try to solve?
Yes, see, MSME doesn't have to do anything. If they manufacture a cold chain product, these days fridges, 2 to 8 degree fridges are not that expensive. And MSME, the bar of MSME. So they can clearly purchase these fridges. But later on, they can hire the services of this temperature sensitive vans. So these vans, like Serum Institute, these vans are temperature sensitive, air conditioned. Although there's a cost attached to it in terms of transportation, as I said, the logistic and transportation issue. So with some products like liposomal, amphotericin, the black virus product, we'll face this issue. And some of the other critical products also, as well, interferon, etc., which are not stable on a 25 degree. We have to transport them in the temperature sensitive. MSME can hire cheaper logistic companies which maintain temperature. They have their vans to carry it, log it, and do it. This is a very cheap service. It's not something only you don't need to invest in a vehicle. You don't need to invest in a truck, temperature sensitive. That's going to be too expensive. So hire a service which would just from campaign to campaign or production to production, they are going to deliver your batches to your distributor or the airport or the exporting country. And with the air cargo also, you would see that 2 to 8 degree temperature sensitive cargoes are there. So it's just a service and added cost which you need to tell the importer or the local supplier. Now we have a drug pricing control authority in India, which is called National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, NPA. And you will see that this controls the essential products not going above the MRP. So you will see that drug of certain products like doxycycline or paracetamol, it's a very controlled in India, so you cannot put a certain MRP. Sometimes what happens that when you increase the price of API due to the dependent import on China, you will see that the drug price control would lead to a higher manufacturing cost. So that will lead to a big shortage. So if you can't manufacture certain product for 2.5 rupees per capsule decided by the pricing authority, well, that is not going to be available. You have no perquisite to manufacture it. So that is another problem in the industry. How we need to control it? We have seen that pharma products such as remdesivir, methylprednisolone come under the Drug Pricing Control Act just to avail the benefit to the public and overpricing as well. So the essential crucial point, what we did not do in the industry, the fifth problem, is that we did not control the bulk drug pricing. So even for the era of pandemic, I know that this is a business, but we need to control the bulk drug pricing because we have seen a 230 to 200% increase. We need to at least, even for the pandemic period or for the year or 6 months, for the quarter, we need to control these products such as paracetamol, enoxaparin, doxycycline. We need to control this pricing after very careful evaluation of import prices, etc. And we need to maintain stocks of these products within Indian airports. And we have seen even the shortage of oxygen APIs. So we have seen that the API manufacturers in India, as there was a surge in demand for oxygen in hospitals, certain APIs in India require oxygen to manufacture, even for filling. And that oxygen was given to the patients, as you saw the allocations. So that also led to certain products not being manufactured in past 1 month. These are the key issues which industry face. So very important that regulators, we industry need to control the active ingredient price because MSME does not have that much power to come forward and inform this problem. We have done it by IDMA, Indian Drug Manufacturing Association, that it's an alarming event that industry pricing is going up. And for a doxycycline to have or a prednisolone to sell 40 mg prednisolone injection to sell in 58 rupees, the price of that drug needs to be 80,000 rupees per kilo, not 1,60,000 rupees. And that is a key problem what we have seen. Anything which comes under demand, it is seen as an opportunity by traders or the people who are stocking these APIs. And that is a big problem because that leads to no possibility of batches. Why even if the MSME plants are sitting idle, if they wish to manufacture the products, they need a price controlled API to pass this or match this maximum retail price which government is putting on these products, whether it's remdesivir, methylprednisolone, doxycycline. We have seen a doxycycline going from 9,000 to 11,000, as of today 18,000 rupees. And that's, so we need to regulate the APIs overall of the industry. Otherwise, big problem.
So,
yeah.
No. So it's actually a follow-up question. So, how would we overcome these problems? For example, a problem that all of us are reading about and watching on television is the problem of oxygen not being available and being in short supply. When what we also understand is that it is not very difficult to manufacture. So, how can these problems be overcome? You talked about the cost of APIs and intermediaries, the raw materials for your manufacturing that should be controlled. What would you suggest from your point of view? What would be the measures?
See, there in this kind of problem in an industry cannot be controlled in short time. So I would say that there are short-term steps and there are long-term steps. Nowadays, we need to focus on the 5 immediate steps we can take to perhaps get a hold on this or control on this situation. People running through pharmacies, buying products, they're not available. We have seen thousands of people sending their Aadhaar cards, their COVID positive reports to all the companies, and the phone lines have just not gone down. So what are the immediate steps industry needs to take? That's something we need to start. That is, first would be to, and now needless to outline that our system is overburdened. Nobody predicted this, nobody analyzed this, and nobody knew this, no matter how much we claim that, we might have done it. Anyways, so the boost of essential shortage drug industry needs to focus on capping the APIs, as I said, and for the COVID medicine, industry shall stock up the finished products with the help of new tenders for the all states. Products like remdesivir now needs to be stocked up in all the states. It has a shelf life of 2 years, so perhaps we would be prepared for the pandemic. Next 2 years, we need to think about that, and perhaps a third wave as well. So we need to stock up favipiravir, we need to stock up ivermectin, methylprednisolone, doxycycline, enoxaparin, the primary blood clotting agent. So once you get COVID, what happens that your lungs are perforated and you need a blood thinning agent, as you have the D-dimer in the blood increases. So that is we have seen huge shortage of enoxaparin because we had to manufacture enoxaparin in vials. Normally enoxaparin comes under pre-filled syringes, but as you see that we have to manufacture vaccine, all the industry. So there's a huge shortage of pre-filled syringes as well. We have seen azithromycin, we need to manufacture azithromycin, meropenem, pipratezo, and now amphotericin B as well for the black virus, the post-COVID complication product. Industry need not to look at this problem as an opportunity. This is to all the brothers and all the colleagues. They need to extend this courtesy to distributor pharma to follow ethics, and they need to reduce the key pharma products MRP. So whichever products is moving fast, if we control the API, the MRP of these particular products will be very much controlled and within the affordable range of people who need them, people who are getting prescribed them. Now, the same whole problem of 70% dependent on China, industry needs to request a temporary resumption of flight from the diplomatic channels via China, because we need to control the situation, and shortage products of the API needs to be supplied immediately. So for now, immediate step would be to request resuming the flights from China. The pharma companies shall also study overall pattern of drug demand over the past year, propose estimates to all the states, Indian states. They need to stock up the essential drug, and they need to give the proposal, and tenders need to be drawn in case if we have a third wave in this year. So we need to be over prepared for that. Whether it's paranoid or not, we need to. Advanced list of essential
I think the lesson.
Yeah.
Sure. I was just saying that that's the lesson that we've learned, that we have to be prepared.
Yes. We need to be over prepared. Whether it's paranoid to stock up 100,000 vials in a state of remdesivir is too expensive. We just need to do it. We have seen it, how the demand is, and no company is equipped overnight to manufacture, because remember, we have staff shortages, and even employees of major pharma companies got COVID positive. So who will manufacture it overnight?
Yep. Correct. Yeah. So
step that, if there are 25 products which are COVID support products from some priority like remdesivir, favipiravir, we need to give all the companies, MSME, an opportunity to come forward, give them permissions, license, to stock them in a divided level. So they don't need to manufacture everything at once, but they need to keep essential batches of remdesivir or favipiravir or other products. We need to have abundance of licensing, and these large players and a small player needs to be listed, and we need to monitor them, what they're manufacturing and how they're stocking up. So we need to, like COVID cases, we need to watch the live stock of 25 products. Look, Goa has it. Okay, Maharashtra has it. Thank you. This was the stat, and this
Absolutely.
is the stocks. So we need to have a stock exchange system for these drugs to manage it. And I think GS1 barcoding system can help them to just automate it. As they scan the barcode to sell, we will know that that vial is gone. Anyways, now the primary factor would be also to invest in the clinical trial of COVID patients. What we have not done, we have only done trial for the vaccines tech we have got in India. Whether there's 3-4 vaccines are there, we are conducting trial. But whether we have done a clinical trial for the patients, that which drugs are the support drugs, which drug is working in more recovery. Sometimes remdesivir becomes important product. Sometimes favipiravir becomes an important product. But clinically, we do not have evidence. This is just coming from the patients getting infected. So we need to have a clinical trial of whether these 25 products, which are the more priority products, which are working on the patient. We have enough COVID patients to have such trials, to be honest.
Sure, sure. So you've already
So,
covered. Yeah. So, no, so basically, I was saying that you have covered what the government should be doing, but I think we have taken the time that was allotted to us. But
yeah.
if you can, just along with your closing remarks, also tell us about what you think should be the government's role now.
Yeah.
Definitely, they need to step in. Definitely, they need to help the industry. So, what, in your opinion, should be the government's role?
Now, in a
Finally,
brief
your closing
way,
remarks to the
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Please go ahead.
In a
Please
brief
go ahead.
way, so there are certain steps which government can take. So we would, of course, for now we would have to boost the diplomatic channel between China for our industrial support for intermediary chemicals or anything else. Then we have to see that we have to regulate the API industry. We have to, under the National Pharmaceuticals Pricing Act, we need to have a parallel list of APIs which could not be sold for more than certain price. And this has to be updated monthly as well, because things become feasible, cheaper, less. They need to monitor the intermediary price as well in order for successful API pricing list. And this needs to be released like the GST data every month. Now we have. And now we could also do that. Pharmaceutical goods can be exempted from toll plaza for effective transportation within the country, because we see a lot of remote places not getting this product. We also have to control the air cargo of pharmaceutical goods. So if pharmaceutical goods could have certain fixed air cargo pricing, that would help to transport these products to remotest areas such as Bihar, Assam, elsewhere, because they don't have essential supplies. Now we see that the input and the transportation cost have cascading effect on the pharmaceutical chain and severe challenges maintaining the viability of pharma business for many of our colleagues. So this is the key issue. They need to solve this labor issue, transportation, and overall the chain process what we have for the pharma to work. And finally, we see that there's a reduced supply of oxygen, nitrogen to our industry for the API, and many key intermediaries are unavailable. So immediate steps needs to be allocated for at least pharma industry to have this oxygen in manufacturing, rather than making a blunt rule to just go into the hospitals, etc. Because if these key materials become unavailable in the next 2 months, then that is going to be a huge problem as well. Now, on the overall remark, I would say that none of us were prepared. Unfortunately, the industry was not prepared. We were not prepared. We never saw that there would be such number of cases. We were vaccinating, we were not taking any further batches of remdesivir, to be honest with any of our colleagues. We were only taking export batches for certain country who would have impacted on a later stage. Now, even pharma companies, employees, members, everyone got infected. They also had to face difficult time. Our system was overwhelmed, overburdened. Now, this cannot be completely called shortage of drugs as well, or sometimes we should only have predicted with full certainty, so nobody were predicted it. Now, vaccination and basic preventive medicine shall be freely available to the poor and who cannot afford the cost of that medicine, especially vaccine or general medicine. Government is doing all. Again, it's not that nobody wants to help. Everyone is helping. They have measures. Every state sooner or later have implemented measures, lockdown or availability of medicine. It's just that it's overburdened. No system is equipped to handle that much. Neither companies, neither system, neither our colleagues. So, and also nobody is fortune tellers to start with. So we cannot predict the future. Whole system was overburdened, whether it's pharma companies, agents, doctors, hospitals, and this has been happening for over a year. Free vaccination to people would be the key issue, who can afford it, and making it viable. So free vaccination to people who can afford it, that's not something I recommend. So they need to be charged for the poorer nation, the poorer percentage of people to be passed that benefit and the shortage medicine benefit as well. We all need to be prepared. We all need to forecast now. We all need to stock up the medicines, the replenished good, prepared for a third wave. Whether it comes or not, if we are prepared, then God forbid it would not come. And also the excessive vaccination. Now we have to also encourage the MSME to change their plants, establish new plants for vaccine manufacturing. This technology, whether it's Sputnik, whether it's Oxford vaccine, this needs to be clearly shared with all manufacturers. It needs to be generally available. Whichever manufacturer, even with the smallest capacity, can scale up. The tech needs to be shared freely, and they need to help each other to scale up this production. There are smaller units in India which can also manufacture vaccine. However, they lack technology and they lack the industry help. Like the generic drugs, we can also copy these products. We can also copy vaccine if the opportunity is given to the smaller plants. We need to build oxygen generating plant within the hospitals, larger hospitals, and we need to be equipped with such instances which can happen in future. And we need to be prepared for more and more surges and a more strong pandemic in the coming time. That's what my recommendation would be. If it doesn't come, we would be very happy, and these products would be with us for general use. They have a shelf life of 2 to 3 years, so we won't have any product wastage, but over preparation never hurts, whether it's pandemic or whether it's anything. So these are my remarks.
Yeah, so thank you very much. The wealth of information, like I've been saying, is really remarkable, and I'm sure we have all benefited from it. There are a few questions that have been coming up, and I've been asking them as we go along. There was one question on the role of technology and how technology can work with you, and you talked about tracking and hoarding is taking place. Logistics is a major issue. So there's so much of technology in IoT, in traceability, RFID, etc. That's available. So how do you think your industry can leverage on the technology that's available?
Now see, the new tech, the batches are monitored. That's one thing in the tech. Now you will see that every single box of pharma manufacturing, you will see that the batch coding system, we have good system implemented in past 5 years. So you will see the GS1 tracking system or the barcode tracking system on any shipper. So whether it goes to Latin America with a single 13-digit code, you can scan the product and you will know that this product is coming from ABC manufacturer. So that's something there. Based on the dispensing, you will see that such systems are also equipped that when your product is getting scanned in Tamil Nadu or whether it's California, you will get a small notification that your batch number this is sold. So these are the techs. Now under the manufacturing, you will see that we have certain softwares which can replicate the drug manufacturing and the results, although it's not 100% accurate. However, we have certain softwares which can replicate the pharmaceutical manufacturing and the repelling effects it could have and the contamination risk. So that. And in terms of tech, you will see that we have metal detection tracking, we have alarms, we have apps these days that if a metal detection, if a tablet rejection is found, that you will immediately get an app notification that yes, this particular batch number has this issues. So there's a lot of tech involved. I know my tech colleagues are working from home. They are working, for over a year from home, but they have done excellent work making even video chats available, meetings available. They have done an excellent work with pharma for logistic labeling, auto labeling. So a lot of things have accomplished. Tech is a crucial part to support and reduce our burden. And what is happening, information, because, in pandemic, people lack information. I mean, Twitter has been a great help to people, informing oxygen beds, availability of meds, which distributor, number. And even there are 5 to 10 COVID support websites where oxygen beds, hospitals, or remdesivir or any particular stock is informed. So yes, but it's not enough. It's pity that with all the sadness, I have to say, that all the industry colleagues, we all think that we were not equipped and we have not done enough. It's just not enough. It's very sad and disheartening. With all the equipment, with all the machine, with all the lyophilizers, we could not solve this problem overnight.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And as you have said so very rightly, Mr. Shantanu, that it's better to be prepared, it's better to be equipped than to be caught.
We could be caught paranoid. See, we now, how prepared were we with the abundance of these suits, with gloves? We were prepared. So no problem. Hospitals has abundant stock of PPE kit, gloves. Yeah, we were just prepared. So there was no mention of such things. everywhere you will see the godowns are full with that. So we just did it. So we can solve the drug shortage also. We can solve the remdesivir shortage also. We can solve the amphotericin shortage also. We just need to be prepared now. We have learned a big lesson that, and it's nobody can outline that it's someone's fault, to be honest,
Right.
because even the person in charge have lost their families.
Yeah.
So everyone has
Absolutely.
lost someone, and unfortunate, my condolences to them.
Yeah,
Everyone has lost some. I have lost some very good colleagues in the industry. It's
Very
unfortunate. Yes.
Very good. And but also, it doesn't seem like this is a very small window or something. This problem seems to be there to stay. The vaccination is going to go on for quite some time. So it's not that investment should not be made or investments will get lost.
It's a huge population. It's a huge population. It's going to take time. It's going to have repelling effects. We just need to be ready with the essential drug pricing, stocking, and beds and oxygen. Just extra efforts. And we just need to. We are a big population, one of the largest in the world. If 1.3 billion people decide to have oxygen cylinders, every single street would have it. So we just need to come forward. It's just not the government's duty to help you. We have to help each other. We have seen foreign countries come forward, people volunteering to help, to distribute masks, to distribute food, to distribute things. And this is what we need to do here. That no amount of government power, no amount of government employees can have such equipment to help 40 lakh, 50 lakh people in a single day. What can a company do? Maximum provide 30,000 people, 35,000 people, some meds, some kits, some preventive kits. That's it. And how many? We don't have that abundant. We are an industry of 2,000, 3,000 companies, out of which major are MSMEs.
Yeah. So this has been a very engaging and very interesting conversation, Mr. Shantanu. I have been asking you all the questions that have been coming through the questionnaire, so we don't have to take time out separately for the question and answer systems. For the participants, there's a survey link of the channel at the end of this event. Please do fill in your comments and feedback and register yourself on the channel link to view more of these videos. So thank you very much, Mr. Shantanu. I think this has been a very interesting talk. We've reached the end of our time. Otherwise, I'm sure there was more that we could have discussed. And but it's really been a pleasure talking to you today. And I hope that we get a chance to keep in touch and collaborate.
Sure. My pleasure and my blessing. Stay safe, stay home, and stay safe for everyone. And we all have to win this. We all have to come forward winner in this situation, and we all have to join hands, whether it's people, it's youngsters, and we'll win it, we'll survive it.
Thank you so much.
Good luck to everyone. Thanks.
Bye-bye.